Hi JP, it's also the Blackstock being played yesterday. We will also have to wait for your debut as batting coach. How does it feel to be back in the squad and the system, but this time on the other side?
No matter what the opportunity, whenever you putting on the green and gold, it's always a privilege. So I'm very excited to be back, and obviously a different capacity. But I think more importantly, it's about trying to make an influence, really, and be part of that significant process in imparting some wisdom and knowledge, and just walking a journey with a lot of the players in the current team. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. Yeah.
Hello, JP. Obviously, very disruptive losing the first game, and there must have been specific plans. I just wondered whether you could share with us some of what that top 6 or 7 might have looked like yesterday. Is the captain opted to open, and would Rassi have batted 3, and was Tony in set to make his debut?
Is that Manners?
Yes, it is.
Manners, how are you, man? Always asking the great questions. Thank you. So yes, I mean, the great thing about where we stand right now, it is that there is certainly a plan in place, and as you guys have seen, the net has certainly widened somewhat in terms of opportunities for guys to understand who do we want in the team going forward, and who puts up their hand for opportunities, right? So yes, there would have been 1 or 2 debuts yesterday. There's probably a likelihood it will be very similar going into tomorrow. But I think the important thing is that we plan and make sure that we cover all our bases. So as you mentioned there, some of the names and positions, it will be pretty similar. But more importantly, can we find the right combinations going forward over the next couple of months leading into the World Cup?
Thank you.
Perfect, thanks Neil. Who would like to go next? Again, just a reminder to everyone to indicate in the chat panel if you'd like to ask a question. I see Kaniso is next.
JP, it's dry out here at Buffalo Park, so hopefully we do get a game tomorrow. You just talked about the plans that you guys are trying to put in place. How much of those plans now have been narrowed by the loss of yesterday's game? The fact that there's still the bigger match of the two Netherlands games that are coming in on the month.
Look, I mean, I think the important thing, as I mentioned, is that there is a plan in place. From time to time, we're going to have to shuffle, and there might be a fork in the road from time to time to go a different direction. But I think if we can communicate well within the group and to you guys in terms of what that plan is, I think ultimately that's the important part, right? So how we execute it is also going to be important. But as I mentioned, the plan is important that it's in place. But yes, it has thrown a spanner in the works, particularly in that first game. So we're going to have to shuffle around going forward in the next few games, yeah.
Thanks, Kaniso. I'll go on with the next one.
Hi JP. I still remember 2019 World Cup. Faf du Plessis used to describe you as the father figure of the team, and I think that's a character trait that we also saw in that Pal Royal stint that you had in the SA20. I mean, just the tenderness of your personality. We saw it. The one that saw someone like Jason Roy from England, even during the SA20, during in blue with the century that he scored. Just talk to us about how important it is to have that character trait as a leader in general, and also looking at this squad for the second ODI that you have with youngsters like Tony Kizosi, how important it is to have that character trait as a leader with this current squad.
I think when you think about any sort of leadership position, the ability to influence and guide and mentor players or anyone in general, I think it's an important trait to have. And as you've mentioned, you've labeled it as a father figure. I think for me, it's more about walking a journey with people on an individual basis. And I think the the batting coach title probably emphasizes that a lot more. So can you build a relationship based on trust? I think that's the important part. And then there are attributes that go with that, like communication, etc. So for me, it's about the ability to earn the trust of every player every single day, no matter what we're doing. That is my goal, right? So I'm glad that you seeing that from the get-go, and that's certainly my ambition to help these players go through different stages of their career. As you mentioned, there are a few younger guys in the group currently, and they will want to stamp their authority on international cricket. So having gone through the experiences of that, the successes of that, but also the failures of that, I think that's the important part, and walking that journey is what I'm looking forward to.
Thanks, Obama. We're going to take another couple from Neil and then Johanna.
Hi, JP, it's me again. So I think this might overlap a little
Sure.
with the previous question, but when Rob first came into the Proteas setup, he worked with very inclusive head coaches in Gary and Mickey, and so his role was a lot wider than the one specifically defined for him.
Yep.
I know it's very early days in your relationship with Rob, but do you foresee that being similar? That you won't just be batting, you'll be much more of an all-round assistant coach, you and probably possibly Rory and whoever else he has on his team?
Well, I think in my conversations with him, and I would assume very similar with the rest of the coaches, as much as we've got our specific areas to work on, there's certainly going to be overlaps in terms of that assistant role, particularly when you don't have a specified assistant coach. So I think the beauty of how Rob works is very collaborative, and he's always asking questions about various situations that we needing to make decisions on, and he doesn't see it as a sole purpose of himself. Yes, at the end of the day, he has to make the final decisions, but what I enjoy about Rob, and that's been the relationship that I've had with him for 10, 15 years already, it's always a collaborative view, asking great questions, having observations, and imparting wisdom and knowledge of his experiences over the last 10 years in his coaching career. So I think it'll be very, very similar, and I think it's a great formula for inclusivity and where we want to go as a unit.
Thanks, Neil. Johanna?
JP, I know it's a couple of days, it's exactly 11 days. There's a challenge waiting for the Proteas in the name of Bruno van der Merwe. Do you have plans for Bruno or teammate of yours?
Sorry, I didn't catch that question.
Just saying, looking ahead to the Netherlands series, which was obviously a new season, so
Yes.
what plans for specifically Bruno van der Merwe?
Well, there certainly would be. I mean, as you've heard in previous answers, there certainly has been a plan coming in to this series and how we want to set up our team. So there certainly would be a plan. I think the important thing to note is that's not the discussion just yet. And the focus is solely on this series and making sure we play well and come out with the desired outcomes that we're after. And then post the T20 series against the West Indies, we'll turn our focus to Netherlands. And as you mentioned there, Roelof van der Merwe, who's been phenomenal in the last few weeks, particularly in SA20. So he's certainly somebody that we're going to make sure that we do our planning and prepping against.
Great, we're going to take the two last questions, one from Percival and then we'll wrap with Kaniso again.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Good afternoon, JP. In the build-up to the series and the appointment of all the new coaches, most of us as journalists, we've been talking about this new era. Can I ask specifically to focus on the topics that you have to deal with? And I expect the fact that you'll contribute to the future. But we've been writing about the Proteas batting in the past, with its test or ODIs. Do you see the Proteas batting improving and once again becoming a force to be reckoned with in world cricket as well?
Well, to answer that first part, do I see the batting unit improving? Well, I certainly hope so. I don't think I'll have a job if we don't. I think importantly to note is we have the skill set to do that. Right? We've got the the makeup and you know, the top 6, top 7, no matter who the lineup is, we have the makeup to do that. Now it's about trying to understand what's the game plan and identity that we're trying to form. And that's a continuous journey and discussion. And as you come up against various opposition, how are we going to do that? You're going to be playing on different conditions, and that the how with that becomes an important conversation. So if we can bring those conversations to the fore regularly and make good decisions. So something that I'm very big on is mindset and execution. And if we can make good decisions more often, that gives us a high percentage of execution, then I believe we're heading in the right direction. But at the end of the day, it's a collaborative effort in terms of, you know, aligning with the team game plan. And if we can execute that well, I think we're going to head in the right direction.
Great, thanks Percival. Can you sort to wrap us up today?
Thank you very much, Lucy. JP, talking of plans, is there still a way that you want to see the Proteas play their own game cricket? England developed for it that everyone tried to copy with varying degrees of success, but the second ODI group came with a template that pretty much is one size fits all, depending on what needs to be chased down, whether one is setting. So is there a particular brand of ODI cricket that you guys are looking to play in?
Well, the short version of that is yes. Now, when you break that down into various branches, I think that's where the nitty-gritty of the conversations come to play. So I think importantly from the get-go is positivity, right? I think that's the buzzword that everybody's talking about, the mindset that we're going in with. At the end of the day, you know, it's about assessing the conditions and understanding what allows for us to achieve high percentage of execution. So when we're making good decisions, as I mentioned before, on the conditions that suit those decisions, I believe we can get the desired outcome. You know, can we score 400 in an ODI more regularly? Now, the conditions are going to needs to be favorable for the batters to be able to do that. So you mentioned England there, and you know, there was very much a trial and error journey for them in understanding what is that blueprint and who fits into that blueprint. And I think very similarly, that's the journey going forward as we reset now, is understanding, right, how do we want to go about this? What does positivity look like in the conditions in East London? That tends to be slightly slower. So if it's not 400, what is that mark that we want to reach for that stretches us? And I think that's the important journey that we're going to explore now going forward, is understanding what does positivity look like. We'll certainly review after every game and see where are the areas that we can improve on. We're not just here to gather a win. We're here to be able to gather information that allows us to give us the best chance at a World Cup. I mean, that's ultimately why we're here. That's the elusive thing that has missed us for so many years, and I've certainly been a part of that. So having gone through those challenging experiences, hopefully in this capacity will allow for greater decision making that allows for our best chance going forward.
Great, thanks Iso, and thank you JP for joining us today, as to everyone online as well. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow at the post-match press conference.
Thank you guys.